Talking with Chris Collins of the Morning Zoo, FM 102 back in the 80s. What a competition that was between FM 102 and KWOD. Did you see anyone else's competition, or how did you view the competition back then?
I viewed everybody as competition. I think that's another reason why we won. I've never, ever bought into the theory that, we should hold hands and sing Kumbaya. I never did. Now, when we were out at multi-events where media had to go out and help a cause and all that, I always got along with everybody. I mean, and I still do to this day. I considered people I competed against my friends, the people I learned from. I mean, when I didn't do mornings, I'd listen to guys like Kevin or Joey, because I grew up listening to Don and these other guys in San Francisco that inspired me. But when I competed, I mean, there was nobody that can compete like me, and that's why we won in part as well. And I mean, Gillette deferred to me in that way because he was competitive, but there was no one that was as competitive as I am, and other people in the zoo will tell you this, and in the radio station. To me, I saw everybody as competition. When I first got here, after a weekend of working in March of 1980, I decided I wanted to destroy KZAP. That was my first thing because I hated 12-year-old boys that ran around putting stickers onto cars that were screaming about Van Halen all the time and Led Zeppelin. So in telling that story to David Lee Roth, like 10 years later, he was crying his eyes out laughing. But it was a motivation for me because it irritated me that people did not handle success and or handle popularity the right way. So KZAP was the first one, and we did. We beat them, and they never came back. K108 was an awful radio station. If you worked there, you know what? You don't deserve any credit. Your station sucked. Everything about it sucked. The on-air people were a disgrace. Salespeople, disgrace. It was an awful radio station. So they were two that I wanted to just see them off the face of the earth. And then Croy AM, was a gong show when I got here. At that standpoint, my attitude was if the competition of KWOD would do 3 things, I'd do 5. And I'm not saying that's right, wrong, or indifferent. It was just my mentality. And it's why in the morning show, I kept people like Killer B. He stayed with me, and I kept some, but I burned others and turned them out because they always thought there was an easier way of being successful. And I told them, look, there's no other way of being successful. If you don't outwork your opponents, okay, you're going to lose. But if you're here because you want to hold hands and get drunk every night with your buddies and live in the station and have your friends for the next 20 years, you're in the wrong business. It's never going to work that way. This is fight to the death. This is a war, okay? And when you become irrelevant in this war, you're going to be replaced by somebody cheaper. So you take advantage of what you can. You dominate as long as you can. You attack and attack and attack until they take the ball away from you. And, of course, I was proven right because, the industry was run by money-grubbing scumbags who wanted to rip everybody off, and as soon as they could replace somebody else cheaper,
with automation or whatever
they did.
Cheaper people. I mean,
they did. So we looked at KWOD. KWOD was the legitimate competitor. Ed Lambert was a great jock. Jeff Hunter worked there for a while. Jeff had success as a top 40 guy. You worked in that group. There were guys that could broadcast, okay? Because the owner was an ass who was psychotic, who everybody knew that, who sued me and made me famous with the Supreme Court, which I thank him for.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because that's a historic event, I guess.
Yeah, not many morning guys have Supreme Court rulings for them. I do.
Do you mean the California
and the United States Supreme Court?
The U.S. Supreme Court. Yes. Wow. Okay, let's back up here. What happened? I vaguely remember...
Well, now are we talking about competition? You only have 10 minutes in this segment, Matt.
Yeah, but I know this one will take hours, but I just want a synopsis of what happened.
Hard for a morning guy to synopsis.
I believe that you went on the air and you started talking about Ed Stolz when you were on FM 102.
Here, I never talked. No.
And Ed Stolz.
Look, he's being a KWOD guy now.
Said he had a
he's
tape.
Spinning the story now.
I'm just repeating what I thought. Okay, he had a tape.
Well, don't think. Come on now.
He had a tape of you talking about him bashing.
Okay, here's what happened.
You bashing him. That's what it was.
Yes.
For being a what?
Homophobic.
Okay.
Here's what happened. Somebody named Yukon Jack or Panama Red.
No, it was Pat. What was his name on the air? Pat Garrett.
Okay. So he was on the air, and apparently, and no regards to me. I could have cared less what anybody did there.
Right.
Not out of any disrespect.
You just happened to be listening, and he...
No, I was not listening.
Oh, okay.
He apparently the night before went on a anti-gay rampage. This whole thing went on. Okay. So, hey, to each his own. I didn't care about it because I didn't know about it. But the next morning, I got inundated with phone calls from angry parents, from groups, from even other broadcasters who wouldn't identify that worked at KWOD that were pissed. And so, of course, I took it on. So I went on a wild-ass rampage of a good 2.5 hours about how this needed to end. I was tired of Ed Stoltz. I was tired of his chicken shit operation to where he treated people wrong. He screwed over people. He had good broadcasters there. He had some bad broadcasters, and I made it clear we had good broadcasters and bad broadcasters as well. But this was too much. It was over the line because it indicts the rest of us. I've got people coming to me saying, now, you need to do something about it because I was the personality in the morning that would take these kinds of things on. Lord knows no one else would have done it. And I took it on. And he went after the license. He filed against the license. He filed against me personally. And then when I sued KSFM eventually and settled in a very good way, that's another story, he actually showed up and offered to double or triple the money that KSFM would have paid me in a settlement of breaching my contract if I would give him the full story and file against their license.
And what happened?
Well, I mean, we won our suit against Stoltz. I mean, the judge admonished him and his lawyer. It got appealed to the Supreme Court, which was good for me. If you research it, you'll see the whole case. It's on Google.
Okay.
Stoltz versus Chris Collins / Tim Anderson. It's right there.
That's an incredible case. And then, of course, I guess one of the reasons why I think about you as one of the top radio people ever that I've known
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Is honestly because, I mean, you were #1 for so long, but you also, not only did you kick your competition's ass, you kicked your boss's asses.
I loved it.
How did you do that?
Well, I mean, the big guy that really helped me was the guy Marty Greenberg out of Dallas, who built ABC Radio, the FM side of it, with Elton Rule. He was one of Elton's golden boys. And he came in with Duffy in '85 and revolutionized how we operate. And he told me, he said, look, he said, I know, I created Larry Luchak. I've worked with some of the top morning talents. You're a top morning talent. Just keep the license. Anything short of that, it's your pony. Go. And I did. I mean, that was my rule, is that if it, to push, but now I also knew that we had to embrace, because if you push, people sort of push back. If you embrace, then you give them the room to come in and say, that guy pisses me off, or I love that guy, or those guys, sometimes I want to, but I love them because they do this. That was the theory. And if you didn't like that theory in the morning show in the zoo, or if you felt that, more needed to be on you individually, I got rid of you. Goodbye. Good luck. Go do your own show. I wish you a lot of luck. And that rule applied to me as well.